the bills that we're paying back on soccer and all that, is that pretty well done? Or is that just randomly when they see it?
For April, you mean?
Well, there's quite a few on the list.
On the list.
Yeah.
That was the bulk of them. We still had a few stragglers, but as of, it could have been late last week, maybe even today, I believe they're all paid.
Okay.
We have one, I'm sorry, Pam did give me one today that we have to refund. But other than that, yes, they've all been taken care of as of today.
And a lot of them were refunded via credit card too, so you didn't even see those. This is ones that we would have paid back by check because they paid originally by check or cash.
So you just remove.
They just
refund the
show
credit
up.
card.
It's a wash in the back end, so the council will never see that.
Any other questions with regards to the consent agenda? If not, I'll need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Not, we'll go ahead and vote, please.
Cox,
Yes.
Haley,
Yes.
Dirk,
Yes.
Fleshner.
Yes.
Steven. Yes. Bates. Yes. Motion is approved.
Thank you. Then this evening, under oral requests and communications from the audience, we have the Mid-American Franchise Agreement, and Mark Reinders, I believe, is online. And when you're ready, Mike, go ahead. Mark, are you there? This is Dr. Jensen, the mayor.
Yes, Mayor, I am on. Thank you for giving me the opportunity tonight to talk to you folks about the franchise renewal between Carroll and Mid-American Energy, the electric franchise. You're one of about 25 franchises that I'm doing this year. They expire routinely with quotes around it every 20 to 25 years. The last one was done in March of 1995. So that, of course, brings us to the stage we're at now. And I've contacted Mike a month or so ago, I guess, and first talked about the process, and he's gotten me to this point and put me on the schedule. Would like to just thank you, of course, for the long-term partnership we've had with the community, and look forward to getting the new franchise in place to continue to do that. I believe you have some packets of information from me.
Yes.
Just real quick, on the left-hand side, it talks about how to report a streetlight problem online. Anyone can do that in town, so if you want to share this in any kind of a community newsletter or posting, that's more than fine. Basically, it just allows everybody to go on our website and click where it says streetlight out and put in there that it's First and Main Street. I'm just making that up, of course. And then an order is automatically generated back at the Carroll Service Center there. And then the guys get out there and hopefully get those repaired pretty quickly. I think we've got all the street lights changed over to LEDs in the last year or so. So they should be a little different look to them, and also saving the city some energy costs. And then additionally on the left-hand side, there's some information about wind projects. I know you folks have seen a lot of the wind units in Carroll County for quite some time. We are aiming to be 100% renewable energy by the end of next year, 2021. Right now, we're a little more than 60% of our energy portfolio is produced by the wind projects, and we are continuing to build more of those to meet that 100% goal. If anyone has questions, of course, feel free to ask as I go along. But on the right-hand side, it just kind of talks about a utility franchise. If you're like I was until I took this current position 15 years ago, I didn't know a lot about franchise, but quite simply, it's just a legal agreement that allows Mid-American to use the public right-of-way in the city limits of Carroll for all of our electrical facilities. It's the only thing that's recognized by the Iowa Utilities Board, so that's why it's important for both the city and for Mid-American Energy. The second sheet back there kind of gives a timeline of the franchise renewal information. As I said, Mike and I talked a couple weeks ago and got this point set up to do a presentation, and I think we're going to have a couple more meetings to hammer out any questions on the franchise itself. And then ultimately, you folks need to have a public hearing like you do a lot of the other ordinances, and you can do first reading, waive second and third, and be done with this, or you can take a little slower approach. It's entirely up to whatever the city wants to do. Mid-American does reimburse the city for any publication costs, so the public hearing notice, and then ultimately, if you publish the full ordinance, we will reimburse the city. I'll work with the city staff to take care of that. The next sheet back talks about franchise fees, which is a new wrinkle in the franchise situation probably in the last couple of years. Some of the larger cities in Iowa have been collecting franchise fees for a number of years. I'm sure you probably have noticed the Des Moines situation a couple of years ago, where they had some issues with franchise fees because they did not have what they call a revenue purpose statement in place. So they were collecting the money and then just kind of throwing in the general fund and using it for whatever they wanted. The Iowa legislature changed that rule and requires cities now to have a revenue purpose statement in place. So if you want to do franchise fees as part of the franchise renewal, you would have to adopt a revenue purpose statement. And I have included an example of that on that bottom of that sheet that the headline says else, but I work with a lot of smaller populated communities, so sometimes they ask me to work on that. But that revenue purpose statement there is kind of a generic one that would cover pretty much any reason you would want to ever use to do franchise fees. Talking about street repair and police and fire equipment, and all those kinds of things that would be in place. And then the next sheet back just kind of gives an overview of the money that could be generated by imposing franchise fees in Carroll. So by law, you can go up to 5% is the maximum allowed by Iowa code. And you also can't collect local option sales tax. So I believe you already have a 1% local option sales tax in place. So, and if you choose to invoke franchise fees, you lose the local option sales tax, but it's basically replaced by that 1% franchise fee. So that next sheet back just has the straight numbers on it, where it talks about 1% on the electric residential side. You're looking at roughly 43,500, and the non-residential, which would be all your commercial businesses and industrial customers, would be 93.5, and that's based on 2019 numbers. It would fluctuate a little bit depending on any particular year's weather pattern and all those kinds of things. So then if you took it all the way down to the 5%, you can see that your numbers there would be 467,500. Any questions on franchise? Well, we'll wait till the end there. We'll catch that at the end. And then continue on back, there should be two more documents. One is the franchise summary, and the other one is the actual proposed draft franchise. I prefer the franchise summary because it's easier to look at. The other one was created by lawyers on city side as well as Mid-American. But just real briefly on the summary, I'll hit a couple of hot spots. Again, the franchise did expire in May. We are obviously continuing to put the lights on in Carroll and have no intention of stopping that, even though the franchise expired. I'm a one-man operation, so I can only make so many city council meetings in the beginning part of the year, and for some reason, everybody wants to meet on Monday nights. So, proposed section 1 talks about 25 years. One thing that does kind of scare a few people, it talks about eminent domain. We put that language in there just to have that option open. We don't have the right as the utility to condemn land anyway. It still has to come from a government body, which of course in this case is the Carroll City Council. But for example, let's say we needed a new substation on the west side of town. We would negotiate with the landowners in good faith, offer them above market value. But if for some reason they choose not to take us up on that land option, and you as a city council or a future city council thought it was for the betterment of the town, we would look for your help on an eminent domain. 2, just note that the franchise is not exclusive and it can be renewed by a city council. 25 years ago, actually, it would be renewed by the council and also had to go to a vote of the people. The Iowa legislature changed that about 15, 20 years ago. So there is no election required for that anymore. 3, just kind of covers sewer and water. We're not going to mess up your city and water sewer system. And if we do, we're going to put it back to the city staff's satisfaction at the end of that. We do have a fairly aggressive tree trimming pruning system. We go through every community we serve in Iowa about every 3 years. And that's section 4 there. Take the dead leaves off the power lines and kind of cut everything back so that when there is an ice storm or a snowstorm, that really helps keep the lights on in Carroll. 5, again, kind of just notes that we're not going to take our sweet time making our repairs. And when we're done, we're going to put concrete back on concrete. Asphalt on asphalt. Section 7 is kind of one of the more important things, I think, for a city, in that it talks about relocation of our facilities. With a franchise in place, we do that at our cost. If there's no franchise in place, we don't do it at our cost. And so any kind of, we're working again on a Main Street project with you folks. You need us to move our stuff a foot over to the left or right. We take care of that at our cost. Section 8 goes the other way. However, if it's a commercial or a development, we do charge them back. 9 is probably the other more important thing for a city, that indemnifies you from any claims that may result from an accident. Again, we're working on a project on Main Street. Didn't quite get it done Tuesday at 4 o'clock like we thought. We would barricade it off and put yellow tape around it and all those kinds of things. But if somebody fell and got hurt, they would sue Mid-American, and they probably would include the city. The city would not be liable for any damages under the franchise agreement. 10, just note that we're going to provide our infrastructure and mapping information to the city staff so we can work together on projects. 11 and 12, note that the Iowa Utilities Board is our boss. For some reason, you're not happy with anything we're doing. Obviously, we want to hear about it personally, so we can try to make it whole for you. Never had a complaint go to the Iowa Utilities Board through a franchise agreement, but this does note that that's in place if you're not happy with us. 13 and 14 just kind of go through these. We would have collected January, February, March, first quarter, remit a check back to the city first part of April, start the process over. So you're going to get 4 checks a year from Mid-American. We note in there that we don't like to change the amount any more than every 2 years. We've never enforced that. For some reason you decide to do, let's say, 1% right now, and 6 months from now or a year from now, you think you want to go to 3 or 4%, you work with me, we'll make that happen. It's not going to be that big a deal for us. Then 15, 16, 17, just kind of talk about termination language. So again, if we're not living up to the terms of the agreement, we want to hear about it, work it out with you guys, make sure you're happy. But if you still don't think there is, then we can have some termination there. And then 18, 19, and 20, just note that when you, as a council, approve a new agreement and it gets published and signed, all those kinds of things, the existing agreement that was done in 1995 goes away. That is the quick version of a franchise renewal process. I would be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
What's the deadline? When does it need, is there a deadline, Mike?
There's no deadline per se, other than our franchise agreement expires in May with Mid-American Energy.
Expires in May, okay.
So if we, if there's too much delay, obviously there'll be a period of time that we would be without a franchise agreement. But obviously Mark had indicated, they don't intend on turning off the power just because we don't have a franchise agreement.
The franchise is, so if you do franchise fee, then you don't collect LOST, right?
Correct.
That's what I thought he said. Okay.
So 1% would be a wash.
For the consumer, yes, there'd be no change in rate.
We have to do a revenue purpose statement. That's a public vote then?
It's not a public vote. It's just a resolution of the council that sets the purpose of why you're going to collect that fee.
Is the language of that included in the ordinance that we've had passed, or is this just strictly a resolution?
It's a separate resolution.
Okay. Any other questions for Mark or Mike?
You had mentioned if we go up that, you'd work with us, between the 2-year period. But what if we decide to go from 3 to 1? Same scenario? 3 to 1%?
Yes, same scenario. Whatever you want to change it, you're not going to get pushback from us.
Okay.
One other thing I don't think I covered, and here's an option for you as well. Some cities have stair stepped it in, let's say 1% in July 1 of 2020, and then July 1 of 2021, it goes to 2% and so forth until you get to the top there, to the top 5%. That's another option if you're looking at trying to lessen the impact of people.
And then it was quarterly, they send us a check, so they collect it and then send it to us quarterly. I heard that right?
Correct.
Is that correct? Thank you. Any other questions for Mike or Mark? Not seeing any, Mark. Thank you again. This is Dr. Jensen again. I appreciate your time, and we should be able to get the staff going on this right away. I know I had some conversations with Mike already, and I think we'll probably get that done and get that to the next meeting or two. We'll let you know as soon as we get it going.
Sounds perfect. Thanks again for taking the opportunity and these strange little circumstances.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you,
a
Mark.
good
Okay. Yeah.
The next item on the agenda is the proclamation for the Tree Arbor Day proclamation, and it's a Tree City USA Award. Is Jack online? Does he want to add anything?
He is online.
Okay. Jack, are you there? Yes, no?
Mayor?
Jack? Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
Yeah.
We're on the Tree City
Okay.
USA Award.
Perfect. This is our 30th year for the award, and the city has 4 components that they have to meet to be a Tree City USA, and we meet all 4 of them every year. So, as far as I know, the last thing we got from the Iowa DNR is they're still telling people to observe Arbor Day on April 24th. Obviously, we won't have any gatherings, groups together, but people are just encouraged to plant trees. And
Oh, there he is.
so,
See ya. All right, thanks, Jack. You want me to do the proclamation? No. The 2020 Arbor Day proclamation states, whereas Iowa's trees were a significant attraction to early settlers because of their multiple benefits and the beautiful environment they provided, and whereas trees are an increasingly vital resource in Iowa, enriching our lives by purifying our air and water, helping to conserve our soil and energy, creating jobs through forest products industries, serving us with shade for our recreation, providing our wildlife with food and shelter, and making our communities a more pleasant place to live and work. And whereas with the cooperation of all Iowans, the benefits of trees can be passed on to future generations through tree planting and conservation of this renewable resource. And whereas each year on Arbor Day, the people of Iowa pay special attention to the benefits of our trees and dedicate themselves to the planting and management of Iowa's forest resources. Now, therefore, I, Eric P. Jensen, Mayor of Carroll, Iowa, do hereby proclaim April 24th, 2020 as Arbor Day in Carroll, Iowa, and urge citizens to participate in tree planting programs that will ensure a greener Carroll and a greener Iowa, and to nurture, protect, and wisely use Iowa's natural wonder of trees. Thank you. With that, and Cultural Advisory Board.
Go ahead, Jack.
Jack, go ahead.
Jack, you're up. Oh, maybe you can't hear us.
I'll take this, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
This ordinance, the purpose of the ordinance is we have a conflict with the school board and when their meetings are being held. And they have a representative on the Parks and Recreation Board. So we're looking to add flexibility to the current ordinance. And basically this ordinance says the board's going to meet in odd months And then we will, in the odd months, but no specific date or time, and the board itself can select when they're going to meet. It just provides flexibility. They're still going to meet the same number of times each year as they currently do. Be happy to answer any questions that the council has on this.
Does the school board have somebody that they're going to place, or do you know
I'm not certain.
if they?
I
Okay.
think maybe Jack can, are you online now, Jack? I mean, typically it's been a member of the school board or one of their athletic department chairs, but I'm not certain at this point who would do that.
And since this is an adoption of a current ordinance, we don't need 3 readings. We just can waive all 3.
Any ordinance would require 3 readings. It doesn't require a public hearing. Certainly you can take comments from the public if you want.
And I've heard kind of through the grapevine that it's been difficult for the school board to get up to those cultural meetings, and I think it'd be nice for them to be able to get to the Parks and Recs.
And the issue is.
Didn't you do that, Laverne? Weren't you? Yeah,
Those are both.
yeah.
I sure can't see any harm in this flexibility. There's still the requirement for 6 meetings per year.
Right. Is there any other questions for Mike? Then, if not, I'll need a motion to adopt the, motion to waive the 3 readings.
Recordings are of nothing
Are
for
our
the
mics
meeting.
on? Oh, how's that? Does that work?
You're coming in loud and clear. I got nothing from Mike on the last,
Oh,
the whole last deal. Nothing.
I've had the mic right next to my mouth. I'm not sure
Yeah.
why.
Muted. It's unmuted. MPW is muted.
Well, I'm not using that system.
it's a different one.
Well, then when whatever you're using, it's not coming through on the go-to meeting.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll work on that one. As far as that goes, I still would need a motion to waive all 3 readings for the change in chapter 24.04 of the regular meeting section.
So, second.
There's a motion and a second. If there's no other discussion, we'll go ahead and vote, please.
Bailey?
Yes.
Seaman? Yes. Base? Yes. Cox?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
And then I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. There's no other discussion. We'll go ahead and vote, please.
Cox?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Base? Yes. Fleshner?
Yes.
Seaman? Yes. Haley?
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted.
Thank you. Crawford, Greene, and Sac County Municipal Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan 2020. And Mike, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Region 12 Council of Government has recently completed an update to the Carroll, Crawford, Greene, and Sac Counties multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. This plan was and continues to be a requirement for federal grant eligibility with the purpose of reducing and eliminating long-term risk to people and property from both natural and technology hazards. The city has met with staff from Region 12 Council of Government to review and make comments on the overall plan. The Federal Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000 establishes requirements for state and local entities to prepare and keep updated a comprehensive hazard mitigation plan. And this regulation requires that hazard mitigation plans be updated and submitted to FEMA approval every 5 years. The importance of this requirement update is for twofold. First, the requisite update is needed in order to maintain an updated document about local hazard and mitigation efforts to reduce those hazards. And secondly, in order for the city to continue to be eligible for FEMA mitigation funding, federal grant funding, an update must be completed. I believe we do have a representative from Region 12 Council of Government on the line, and we can unmute them if there's questions. Otherwise, I'd be happy to answer any questions the council has this evening on this plan.
I know kind of like what we were talking earlier, some of the information was back to 2017. Will some of that get updated as time goes on?
Well, that is the most up-to-date
That's what
information
it's all
right
about.
now.
Okay.
And that's just based on the census data that was available at the time the plan was updated. So it is the most up-to-date at this time.
I know we've been going through and doing all the sirens and updating all that stuff. Is that pretty well complete?
Unless we have expansion, we're probably about to our max.
Okay. All right.
And Brad didn't have a mic, so I will say what Brad said. But yes, we have pretty much completed the coverage that we need right now.
Are there any other questions for Mike? If not, I'll need a motion to adopt the Carroll Crawford, Greene and Sac Counties Municipal Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan 2020.
So move.
Second. There's a motion and a second. There's no other discussion. We'll go ahead and vote, please.
Haley? Fleshner?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Base?
Yes.
The resolution is adopted.
Thank you. The next item under resolutions is the water supply well replacement 2020, and it is 5:44, and we will open a public hearing. And Randy, if you're online, please.
I am online. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. See you too.
Okay. Yeah. On March 13th, plan specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the water supply well project were filed by JEO Consulting Group. The plans detail the construction of a new water well near the south end of Rolling Hills Park. This new well is a replacement for the former well number 11, which was taken out of service due to a hole in the casing. The specifications detail the construction. They include statewide urban specifications, supplemental specification, and special provisions detailing the well construction. Form of contract is the statewide urban design and specification form that we've used in the past. Estimated cost of construction cost is $506,580. With that cost, the total project cost is currently estimated at $632,380. Proposed funding is through the current fiscal year and proposed for next fiscal year water utility fund. Total available funding in those 2 years is $725,000. The project schedule, we anticipate bid receipt on April 21, and then a contract award consideration at your next regular meeting on April 27th. Unless there are any questions, I'd recommend adoption of the plans, specification, form of contract, and estimated cost for the water supply well replacement project.
I have a question. This is Gary. Randy?
Yes.
Okay. When we accept these bids, are they, I guess I'm naive on this. Are we assured that they'll successfully drill a well? When do they know the water's there?
No, there are no assurances on the well constructions. There are a couple of ways to deal with that, and we have. One would be a test well construction to find out what's there. Now, we will require a test well, but have recommended not to test pump it. This well is going to be located probably within 50 feet of our current well number 11. So we're pretty certain of what the capability of well number 11 was and the yield on it. And that's why we're not recommending the pumping of a test hole.
Thank you.
We would anticipate the well to perform similar to well 11.
Randy, this is Clay. Do I recall right that this is one of the wells that we had repaired or lined that casing already several times and thus narrowed it, diminishing its capacity?
Yeah, we actually had recased this well once, and that casing developed a hole, and would have been too small of a casing to even utilize to try to recase it again. The capacity on the well was pretty good, actually, even after the second casing was installed. So it was a good producing well right up to the time that the hole developed in the casing.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Are there any questions from the public? Does the council have any other questions for Randy? It's kind of quiet in here.
You should ask again if there's any questions.
Want me to ask one more time? Are there any questions from the public? Not hearing any.
Muted.
It is 5:49 and we'll close the public hearing. If there's no other questions from the council, I'll need a motion to consider the adoption of the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost of the water supply well replacement 2020 project.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. There's no other discussion. We'll go ahead and vote, please.
Fleshner.
Yes.
Dirks.
Yes.
Haley.
Yes.
Seaman.
Yes.
Cots.
Yes.
Base.
Yes.
The resolution is adopted.
Thank you. The next item under resolutions is the water distribution main replacements 2020. And it is 5:50 and we'll open a public hearing. And Randy, when you're ready, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Also on March 13th, the plan, specification, form of contract, and estimated cost for the water distribution main project were filed by JEO Consulting Group. The plans include the replacement of some water distribution main on parts of Crawford Street, the UP Railroad right-of-way, West Street, Whitney Street, Court Street, and East Street. The specifications are the statewide urban specification with supplemental specification and special provisions. Form of contract is again the statewide urban design and specification sample form. The estimated construction cost of this project is $739,420. With that estimated construction cost, the project cost is at $875,920. Funding for the project is also proposed from the Water Utility Fund in the current fiscal year and next fiscal year in the total amount of $1,136,500. Project schedule is the same as the well project with bid receipt April 21st and awarded the construction consideration April 27th. Also, I might add that the spelling error in the resolution for this project and the previous has been corrected. So the correct resolution will eventually be signed. So unless there are any questions, I recommend adoption of the plan, specification, form of contract, and estimated cost for the water distribution main replacements project.
Randy, these replacements, are they due to known issues or is it just preventative?
They're kind of twofold. Well, actually, The overlying reason is to increase pressures in the area. They are replacements for some 2-inch water line, which we have had some more recent historical problems with. And 2-inch line is not a fire rated line. And then also some looping of lines to tie them in to other water main to stabilize the pressures.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Are there any other questions for Randy? I know, I think we'd kind of gone through this when we were doing budgeting and stuff too, so. Are there any questions from the public with regards to the water distribution main replacements? Not hearing any. It is 5:53 and we'll close the public hearing. Are there any questions from the council for the final questions or anything for Randy or Mike? If not, I will need a motion to adopt the plan specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost of the water distribution main replacements 2020 project.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a, okay, he's gonna point to Fleshner.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay. There's no other questions. We'll go ahead and vote, please.
Base? Yes. Haley?
Yes.
Seaman? Dirks?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
The resolution is approved.
Thank you. And the next resolution is the water and sewer utility billing modifications due to COVID-19. And Mike, when you're ready, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Due to the situations surrounding COVID-19, 2 modifications are recommended at this time by staff to our water and sewer utility billing process. Specifically, 1 is waiving of utility billing late fees, and 2, suspending credit card processing fees for utility billing. Related to waiving of utility bills, really we feel due to the financial impacts from COVID-19, many individuals in our community may be experiencing financial stress that will make it more difficult to make timely water utility and sewer utility payments. City Code Section 92.06 requires a one-time late payment penalty of 10% for accounts that are paid after the 15th day of the month or the next business day if the 15th lands on a holiday or weekend. To avoid adding additional stress during this time, it is recommended that the city waive the late penalty fee for the second quarter, which would be April, May, and June for 2020. Second item is suspending the credit card processing fees for utility payments. When we implemented the acceptance of credit cards for the payment of utility bills in September of 2014, the council by motion implemented a credit card processing fee for face-to-face transactions of 2.5% and $2.50 for online transactions. With the closure of city offices due to COVID-19 and encouraging people to take city business electronically or via phone to avoid staff exposure to COVID-19, the credit card processing fees have been suspended since March 17th, the same day city offices were closed. It is recommended these fees be suspended until such time city offices reopen to the public, and the attached resolution then would take those 2 actions. So staff's recommending that the city council approve a resolution regarding water and sewer utility bill modifications due to COVID-19. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the council has.
I would like to, do we have a figure as to how many people are automatically paying their bills through debit? Like I do?
You mean where we automatically take it out of your account? The last time I checked, I think we were somewhere around 45% of the accounts.
Okay. This might be a good time to remind people that that's a great way to take care of their bill. It would help us, the city, and it would help themselves to avoid contact with us at this time. So I would encourage people to do that. We're at 45%, that's 55% that can still consider that.
Absolutely. And we don't charge a fee for ACH payments, I think is what you're alluding to. So yeah, it's a great service. And we certainly will get that out again.
The ACH word escaped me.
You're fine.
That has been a confusion out there. Some people think that we are charging an extra fee for that.
Not the ACH. That's a free service.
Right, but it is out there because I've been approached on that they don't want to do it because they're afraid they're going to get charged an extra fee. So we need to make it sure that they know there is not one.
Okay. We'll promo that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mike? If not, I need a motion to approve the resolution for water and sewer utility billing modifications due to COVID-19.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. If there's no other discussion, we'll go ahead and vote, please.
Dirks,
Yes.
Haley,
Yes.
Cots,
Yes.
Base. Yes. Fleshner.
Yes.
Seaman.
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Thank you. The next item is the Carroll Recreation Center fee waivers due to COVID-19. And Jack, are you there? I know I didn't see him leave yet. Jack?
We can't hear you, Jack.
Is he muted? No?
Not on my end. He's not muted.
Are you muted on your end, Jack?
Not hearing us at all.
So I'll go ahead and make
Okay.
this presentation. I'm not sure what's going on technology wise.
Just put
So-
his head down on the desk.
We're all learning new things here. So obviously we've closed the rec center as of March 17th of 2020, and need to basically waive the rec center membership fees at this time. Currently under the proclamations from Governor Reynolds, the rec center will remain closed through at least April 30th of 2020. With the rec center now closed for a minimum of 45 days, staff is recommending that the following actions be taken. First, with the members with pre-authorized monthly payments or PAMP, the monthly charges be waived for the months of April and May. Second, for members with a 30-day rec center membership or a fitness class pass as of March 16th, 2020, to have their memberships extended for 30 days once the Carroll Rec Center reopens. And then members with an annual rec center membership or an annual fitness class pass as of March 16th, 2020, that their memberships would be extended 60 days once the Carroll Rec Center reopens. We've included a resolution that outlines those items. Additionally, the resolution goes on to note that if the rec center does remain closed past March 15th of 2020, which would be 2 months that the rec center would have been closed, then the city manager is empowered to make further fee waivers for PAMP members as needed. With that, staff is recommending approval of the resolution. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the council has this evening.
We did collect for March, correct?
So we did make collections through March. So even if we were closed from the 17th to the end of March, we did collect those fees. Then we suspended them as of April 1st.
Okay. Any other questions for Mike? This seemed pretty self-explanatory. I'd had people already asking about it. Want to know if we were still going to collect fees. And so, if not, we'll need a resolution or need a motion to accept the resolution for the Carroll Recreation Center fee modifications due to COVID-19.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. If there's no other discussion, we'll go ahead and vote, please.
Seaman.
Yes.
Cots,
Yes.
Haley,
Yes.
Base.
Yes.
Dirks.
Yes.
Fleshner.
Yes.
The resolution is approved.
Thank you. Our next item is under reports, and it is the Water Storage Tower Rehabilitation 2019 project. And Randy, when you're ready, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Utility Service Company has prepared to resume work on the water tower project. Actually, they did complete the welding on the railing modification last week. That work, if you recall, was suspended back in November of 2019 due to the adverse weather. A couple of items need to be resolved as they proceed with the completion of the tower work. Those are detailed in that proposed change order number 2. They are in general terms, the application of a third city logo to the tower. There were 3 on the tower. They've, of course, all 3 been removed, but the contract only included the replacement of 2 logos. And then the extension of contract times, adding 24 days to substantial completion of the contract and 25 days to final completion of the contract. The impact of this change order on the dollar amount of the contract is the resulting contract price would be $596,900. So unless there are any questions, I'd recommend your consideration of approval of the change order, including the change in contract price of $5,000 and the addition of the contract days to substantial completion and final completion. And just as a note, as of late this afternoon, JEO Consulting Group has offered to take responsibility for the increased contract cost and pay for that $5,000.
Yeah, because that wasn't overlooked by us. So. How much longer do they have to go, Randy, please?
How much longer on the contract?
No, on the work up there, is there a expectation for the date that they're going to be finished?
Yeah, that we expect the substantial completion to be by June 30th. And the substantial completion is defined as when we can get water back in the tower once it's taken down. And then following that, this change order provides them the opportunity to complete the painting on the legs on the tower, with that work being done by July 31st of 2020. So that would be the substantial completion and then full completion.
They're pretty well on time at this point then.
Oh, they have indicated to us that they can complete it in those timeframes that we've included in the change order.
Okay. Any other questions for Randy?
Randy, in the specs for this change to labeling 3 times, does it say in there that the letters will be the same size? I mean, they wouldn't make them smaller for some reason, would they?
No, the intent is not to make them smaller. They actually use the former lettering to make the template for the new lettering.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Randy? If not, I need a motion to approve the change order number 2 to the water storage rehab contract as follows. Change in contract price, $5,000, and a change in contract time with substantial completion date in 24 days and a full completion of 25 days extension.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. If there's no other discussion, we'll go ahead and vote, please.
Cots,
Yes.
Fleshner,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Dirks,
Yes.
Base,
Yes.
Haley.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
The next item under reports is to set a public hearing date for fiscal year 2019-2020, budget amendment number 1. And Laura, when you're ready, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we all are well aware that a budget is a document required by the state of Iowa to ensure that we are properly using our public monies. A budget is prepared well in advance of our actual operations. Many things and projects occur between the time that we adopt a budget and the end of our operating year. The budget document is also the city's guide for tracking our revenues and expenditures. The state of Iowa prohibits spending more than what has been budgeted, and knowing that the budget is a working document and events occur that were not originally planned in the budget, a budget amendment is often required to be in compliance with state code. With this, below is a listing of the items to be included in this first and only budget amendment for our fiscal 19-20 year. Of the items listed were included, all these items were included in our fiscal 2020 re-estimated amounts when we were preparing our 2020 budget, with the exception of the small business relief program that council took action on within the last month. Without going into great detail on each of the items, I will just highlight a few, and if council has some questions, we can discuss those. So some of the items to be included in our budget amendment, the first items listed 1 through 5 all affect the general fund. And number 6 as well includes or affects the general fund, where the items listed in number 7 is things that are outside of the general fund. In particular, we had a few items with the airport and getting operations and things set up for Air Methods to be operating out at the airport. There was some expenditures as well as revenue that Air Methods helped pay for some of the improvements, and they are also paying rent as well up at the airport. Park improvements, we had some monies to carry over to continue with the removal of ash trees for the emerald ash borer that is in the area. The rec center money is being carried over for upgrades to the HVAC system. Central Business District, we had some monies allocated for a study along Main Street for the courthouse jail project and some sidewalk repairs that were completed in the downtown area for the 150th celebration. In our general government part of the budget, includes funds for property taxes for the new City Hall building and property at 224 North Main. As the city transitioned, if you know, we always keep paying behind on property taxes, and so this is to get it caught up and to the time that the city took over as the owner. There were some monies for the rec center building planning report and some cleanup costs for 224 North Main. There are a number of transfers in and out of the general fund for capital projects, including some work done at the airport and an interfund loan for from our downtown urban renewal plan for the cleanup costs at 224 North Main. Some of the other items that were included that did not affect the general fund that are in some of the other funds include some more improvements at the rec center and our Southside Shelter House, the small business relief program, which we are using local option sales tax money, or we use local option sales tax money for that program. Funding to continue to do cleanup costs at 224 North Main. We're going to track the expenditures now straight out of the special revenue fund for that instead of the general fund. Debt service expense for the 2020A capital loan notes, which we will have a payment on June 1st. And now that we've actually issued that debt, we have that true cost for the first payment. And so this is to make sure we have the allocated monies, or we have the funds. We just had to make sure we showed the expenditure properly. And let's see, then there was some other project or expenditures for capital projects and items out of our enterprise fund, which we have the funding allocated or the funding available. It's just a matter of showing that we're spending the money. With the memo also is included the actual notice of the public hearing that will be sent to the paper if council approves this. That's so it can be published in Friday's paper to hold the public hearing at our next council meeting on April 27th. And that'll be just in enough time for the publication requirements. With that, I would ask council if they have any questions on any of these items that are included in this budget amendment.
I thought it was pretty self-explanatory. Did anybody else have any questions? If not, I will need a motion to set Monday, April 27th, 2020 as the date for a public hearing for the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget amendment number 1.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. If there's no other discussion, we'll go ahead and vote, please.
Seaman? Dirks?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Kotz?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Base?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. I just make a comment this evening. I appreciate everything that staff has done. I appreciate everything that the community has done to help and keep things moving along as best we can. I know it's been kind of a tough last several weeks, and hopefully there's an end in sight and not too much longer. Please, everybody, just have a little more patience and we'll get through this. Thank you. Are there any comments from the council? Any from the city manager?
None this evening.
Nothing? If not, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
There's a motion and a second. We'll go ahead and vote, please.
Base? Fleshner?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Kotz?
Yes.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.